Hi, my name is Moreno, owner and operator of Aromath farm here in the eastern countryside of France, in a small town Millicé with just over 150 people living down here. The size of the farm is a third of an acre. It's an old family-style orchard that was contained with the family house, the barn. We converted this place last year from a grass field into the farm it is today. We've got a small nursery where we do all the transplanting of our crops, or the seeding of our crops. We've got a large greenhouse tunnel where we do all the tomatoes, some peppers. All in all, we've got over 105 beds, full-on production right now. So the story of our farm really dates back to early 2013 when my wife and I met for the first time in New Zealand on a mandarin farm. Both coming from complete different backgrounds, culture and even a country. We never thought we would actually go into farming. Myself, I've been working a little bit in the roofing industry in the Netherlands before this. But yeah, at that moment that my wife and I met on the mandarin farm, we started working there, and it really caught our interests. It's like the lifestyle, the work, the day-to-day work we were doing. Of course it was tough, it was hard work, but being outside, outdoors, working with the elements of nature, going from season to season, it was really something that grabbed our attention. We really liked the lifestyle of it. From there on, from the mandarin farm, we actually continued looking for work, and we continued working in many different farms. We went from New Zealand to Australia to really follow the seasons, really get to understand both the ins and outs from the production side of things, as well as the processing and a little bit of the business side of things. To a certain point that all of this was in monoculture, agriculture, pesticide-ridden agriculture, if you will. From that point, we exchanged some documentaries with a friend that we met over there on one of the farms. One of the documentaries in between there was Introduction to Permaculture by Jeff Lawton, I believe it was. From that point, we didn't have any clue of what was agriculture all about. We were both pretty much raised in a city-like environment, and as soon as we've seen this documentary, it's like for us it was like this light bulb moment from, hey, there's actually this whole world out there of agriculture that's not just the way it is right now on the farm, because we were literally sleeping in a tent on the farms, in monoculture farms. And we were looking at the documentary and we were looking outside and we were like, there's like a difference between, there's a huge difference. And for us it was just really, it really took us in. And after seeing this documentary, we were like really inspired to get to know more about this side of agriculture. And what we ended up doing is we actually got our certificate. So we took the permaculture design certificate course. And after that it really blew up our mind. We actually got back to France, so where my wife was born and raised in the area here. And luckily her grandmother had some land to her availability, and it allowed us to actually start a little bit in the direction of where we wanted to go. And because permaculture is such a wide concept of agriculture, is like all the elements combined into one, what we ended up doing was exactly that. We did everything. We wanted to plant trees, we wanted to install ponds, we wanted to have bees, some animal agriculture production like vegetables, we wanted to include animal systems, or we wanted to do everything. And it took us 1.5 years of really struggling to make ends meet with all the surplus we were going to get. And that was really a point in life that we said, okay, listen, we're going to have to get some structure right now. We're going to have to become organized if we want to be making a living at this. And that's when we decided to get into full-time market gardening, because it's one of the lowest barrier to entry types of farms you can start with not much of an initial investment. So from that land, from her grandmother, there was no infrastructure there, there was no possibility to get infrastructure there, no electricity, no water. So we had to move, and we started looking around for properties that we could rent, since our budget was not too big to allow us to buy something. We had to rent something. And eventually, after a long search, we found this property. For us, it was important that the house was directly there and a piece of land that we directly could convert. And from there on, we started converting this place into the farm it is right now. So when we arrived here for the first time, it was early to late June, late spring, early summer. Everything was in full production in terms of all the grasses and the weeds. So we were not even able to see the lay of the land. We were not able to see how the land was there, where there were some depressions or anything. It was just really full-on grasses. What we decided to do at that time is, like, first to get an initial view of how the land looks, we decided to mow everything. And from there on, we decided to convert it into all of these raised beds that we did. Because we wanted to get the production going immediately, what we did was we opted for an initial tillage of the soil to get really rid of all the existing vegetation. So we hired a tractor and a walk-behind tractor, because we've got a large amount of trees that we couldn't get through with the tractor, so we needed a walk-behind tractor as well. And we started tilling the soil because we wanted to get it in production immediately. And we knew it was only going to be one-time initial tillage because after this initial tillage, what we've done is, like, we created the raised beds. We got 2 large trucks full of compost. In total, the initial time we did it was 40 cubic meters of compost. We got it dropped just on the parcel next door. And we started moving that wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow from there towards here and creating our beds this way. Once the beds were, what we did was we did not incorporate the compost with the soil, but what we did was we created our beds at the 30-inch width, and we just laid it on the surface of the soil. So in terms of inches, it's like 2 inches height in the beginning, it's like 5 centimeters. And once we developed all these beds, we created all these beds, we started mulching all the pathways with the wood chips. This was going to do 2 things. Obviously, first, like, we wanted to take care of any weeding that was going to come after this initial tillage, because if you till the soil, what will happen is, like, you will wake up a large amount of the seeds that are coming up again, and this is something you want to avoid. So we covered every single thing, and from there on we moved into a no-till system where we do not till the soil at all anymore. We are now to the point that we do not even use a broad fork anymore, besides after the winter one time, and that's the only time of the year we now use a broad fork. We continuously keep adding compost and organic matter to the soil, to the beds, and this is feeding all of our crops. And in terms of fertilization, the amendments, that's basically all we're doing right now. Obviously, we needed to get a soil test beforehand to get to understand, or get a basic understanding of what it was we were working with. From there on, we applied what we needed to apply, and we continue to move with the compost at the moment. And it's worked out pretty great so far. So here at Aromath Farm, since we're just a third of an acre, we have to be pretty deliberate about the crops we are growing. We cannot just start growing potatoes, onions, leeks, cabbages. Those things are not profitable on a small size, on the size that we're working with. So we are really focusing on the bunching roots like beets, radishes, carrots, turnips. Lots of leafy greens like arugula, mizuna, salad greens. Large amounts of lettuce heads, and besides that we've got 1 large tunnel that's full of tomatoes. And we started off by actually selling to quite a large amount of local organic grocery stores. Initially we wanted to go at farmers markets, but specifically in this area where we are, there is just a few of them and the traffic is not all that great. There was a better one an hour away from here, which was really interesting for us, but there was a waiting list of 2 years at least, so we were not able to get in there. And after, there were already 5 other vendors there, two in organic, 3 conventional, so there was a huge competition already going on with the exact crops we're going to grow. So from there on we actually compiled another list with all the chefs in the area, the restaurants. Since we are in a quite a rural area, there's not many restaurants besides an hour drive from here where there's the cities. Besides the restaurants and chefs, we also looked out for the local organic grocery stores, so the specialist stores, to sell our crops. And what we did was we compiled a list of all these potential customers, and we just went one by one off the list. We just marked off, and we went out, called them up, made a meeting, and we started really talking to each individual potential customers in terms of whether they would be willing to work with local organic growers, as well as what the actual demand was for the particular crops that we were going to grow. And by doing this, it really sketched out for us, like it really allowed us to see, okay, where the demand was, where the possibilities were in terms of production for us. And with all that information, we were now able to come up with a plan of approach that would allow us to make a living, to reach our financial targets, as well as be in line with the local demand. And so far it's been working out really great by just doing that thorough market research, going to each individual customer and talking to them directly. The deliveries on our farm, the deliveries to the customers we do are on every Tuesday and Friday. Most of the crops are harvested the day before, not always, because it's simply not possible. Some crops have to be harvested when they're really ready. And we start off our week pretty simple, pretty basic. We go out, we've got a list of tasks that we have to do that has been thought of in the winter time when the production is really slow. When it's really low, we've got the time on our hands. And basically from week to week we know what to do. We look at the list, we go out there and we get things done. So it could be on a Monday that we start seeding crops in the nursery. It could be that we have to direct seed stuff or transplant stuff. As well as it can be that we have to harvest. We do the weeding, not strictly on any kind of day, but we do it whenever it is really needed. And from there on we just go with the flow of the season really. We look at our schedule, what we have to do in order to get the crops a month from now or 2 months from now. We do all the preparation and of the beds and the production beforehand, and this way we keep going. Before we started this farm, we just had a newborn. Her name is Nola. She was just 2 months old when we got into this place, so we knew already we wanted to farm. Also partially because we didn't want her to grow up in an environment that we were not feeling comfortable with. We wanted her to have an environment where she can just walk outside, put her hands in the soil and just be dirty, if you will, and really play outside, have organic produce outside, that she can go outside and eat whatever she wants to eat. Being able to work with my wife and my 2-year-old right now is really something that I wouldn't give up for anything else. Being able to just wake up together and go outside, do the day-to-day tasks, is something that is really important to us. As I said, we didn't want her to grow up, like for the little one to grow up in an environment we were not comfortable with. Myself, I grew up in a city environment, and I actually missed, without knowing it, this kind of aspect of living. And being able to provide that for our daughter right now is really something that is really important to us. Hopefully one day she can go whatever direction she wants to go, obviously, in life. But if she could take our interest into permanent agriculture and continue to develop it to her own, at least to a certain extent that she can take care of herself, at least, if we can give her those capabilities, the knowledge and the willpower, if you will, that would be kind of something that is really important to us. Like, we do not want her to be dependent on any outside resource. We want her to be happy, first of all. We want her to do whatever she wants to do. We direct her just in the way she wants to go, and we can just show her things by working on the farm day to day. And so far, as I said before as well, it is really amazing to have her walking around. Okay, it takes a little bit longer every now and then. When we transplant a crop into the bed, she comes behind us to actually take it out and transplant it back. Not always the way it should be done, but that's okay. And these things, we have to let them free in these kind of things as well. And it's beautiful to see that she's picking up things so fast. And letting her be, it's for us, it's life, really. First of all, our neighbors, they thought that we were crazy to convert this place into a small farm. But the feedback has been incredible. Obviously, this community is all rural farmers. We're really in a community where it's all cows, and there's some corn to feed the cows, and it's all based on the production system that they're doing right now is like not what they're not used to what we are doing. It's like, for them, this is a garden. For them, this is really okay. This is what we do for ourselves. It's not really the farming the way it should be done. It's very difficult in terms of, they grew up on the farm. They grew up seeing their fathers doing what they're doing, and they have never really questioned what they are doing. And seeing us coming in here, people from the city, people from outside, coming in here and converting a place like this into an annual vegetable production system was for them something they've never seen before, first of all. And the feedback was incredible. They're really helpful. They really see us working every day out there. If we need anything, we can rent tractors, or we can ask them to come in and help as well, which is really great to have. So the feedback has been really great, even though they were not really familiar with this type of farming. The key to success, in my opinion, all starts with the proper, thorough market research. So you're not like many people, even the people that I'm talking to right now, they start growing the stuff they like to eat. But for example, let's say I only grow tomatoes, and there's 10 other farmers in your area growing only tomatoes. You're going to have a hard time selling your crops, or you're going to have a hard time to make money out of it because the prices are really low. So one key of success definitely starts with the foundation, which is the market research, really analyzing the markets, the possibilities, the competitors, what's going on in your market. And from there on, another key of success is the organizational aspect of it. So knowing when to plant what, so really your crop planning, that is really important as well. That's another key to success here on this farm. We wanted to convert this place from the state it was into what it is right now, into a fully productive farm. Was one of the highest thing that we had on our to-do list. We wanted to get everything installed as soon as possible. So all the infrastructure, like the permanent irrigation systems, overhead irrigation systems, the drip irrigation system in the greenhouse. We wanted to get the greenhouse installed, the nursery, so that we had an area where we can start all of our seedlings. We converted an old barn into the post-harvest station. Those things that was really, for us, really important to get done as soon as possible. Because once that is done, we could just start focusing really only on the production systems and actually start putting systems into place and start optimizing those systems and follow those systems. And being able to do that within 12 months was really stressful. But right now, our work weeks are really in line with our life. The way we work right now, having everything in place, I wouldn't say it is easy, but it made everything a lot easier Once you have everything in place, it's just following the production systems, doing your weed management systems, and just making sure that you grow good crops, you sell them, and you continue. When we first started out, we obviously made a list of the essentials we needed to get started. We knew we needed to direct seed crops. We needed to transplant crops. We also knew that we wanted to have tomatoes and a whole bunch of other things. And in the beginning, like, you can start off by seeding things by hand and trying to get by doing it this way. But why not start straight away with a strong foundation? That's why we opted to get, for example, the greens harvester, an amazing tool that allowed us to really harvest the crops very fast and very clean. But also things like Jank seeder, the 6-row seeder, the bed roller. We invested in making a gridding type roller to mark out the spacing of where the individual crops come, as well as the irrigation systems. For us, we knew, okay, this is a budget that we have to put aside and that we have to invest in immediately. Because once that initial investment is done, then it is just going to be into the production side of things. We're going to get that, we can start off the right track, and we can start earning back that money and start making a profit from then on. So investing in the right equipment from the get-go is, in my opinion, a must. The time it takes, for example, to harvest a bed of spinach versus a bed of mizuna or salad greens is just night and day. It's like it takes us a couple of minutes to walk down from one side of the bed to the other side with a quick cuts greens harvester, as opposed to harvesting with a sharp knife the lettuce, the spinach bed. And so we didn't start off, we didn't harvest any of these things with a knife, but we directly got the harvester itself. Well, if we didn't have the quick cut greens harvester, then obviously the production of the salad greens would be way less efficient, and even to the extent that I would even consider not growing it because of all the extra labor. First of all, the labor in it of itself, it takes a lot of time, but also in terms of ergonomics, it's just so practical to have the harvester itself. It's like, it's a back saver, first of all. It's quick, it's fast, it's efficient. Doing all of this on your knees with a knife, it's gonna cut a lot into the profitability of the crop, as well as on your back. So the real reason why we farm, first of all, it was because we had the big need of our own supply of locally grown produce, which is a very important thing to us. From there on, we really like to inspire others, just with this farm itself, to take this over and start their own farms for themselves as well. Like, we need more small-scale farmers. We need more people farming in a way that is both beneficial to themselves in the first place, but as well to their neighbors, to the local community, the wider community, as well as for the environment. And farming in such a way as what we're doing here on our farm is what I hope that I can bring over to the farmers that are next to me, farming every day with their tractors, farming their corn. Now, it is not my goal to convert everyone, but if I could show by example of that there is another way of growing food, then my mission is a success. And that is really important to us here on our farm. If you decide, no matter what situation you're in right now, whether you're working a 9-to-5 job, you're working a part-time job, and you consider to get into farming, make sure to really set the foundation for your success. And what I mean with that is, first of all, what we've covered a little bit briefly before is start off with the right equipment. But even before you start looking at the equipment, look into your area of where there are the possibilities. Where's the demand? What is the demand? Who are you going to sell to? What are your competitors doing or what they're not doing? What is it that they're selling and what it is that they're not selling? It is really important to get the foundation right of making sure that the crops you are growing is in line with the local demand as well as your own financial targets. And from there on, you can start then compiling your organizational aspect, your crop planning. You can then go further into it and you can then start looking really, okay, what is it in terms of tools and equipment that I need to really get started off with. When you start out in the beginning, I would really suggest that you obviously work within the confinements of your own budget, but make sure that you do get the right tools from the beginning. So put aside a budget for, like in the instance of salad greens, make sure you get a harvester. You don't want to work hours and hours and on your knees, getting back problems, harvesting these types of crops. And same for seeding. If you are going to direct seed crops on your farm, which is pretty likely, get a seeder. Don't do it by hand. So definitely get the understanding of what it is that is in demand and with whom, as well as invest in the right tools and equipment from the beginning.